11 behind Kubica, nowhere near, unfortunately, where he needs to be.
Massa looks like he's going to try and set the fastest lap of the race on the last lap, as you say. Raikkonen, though, is at the bottom of the hill. It's the big climb up the hill now that will make him the world champion of 2007. He came here third out of 3. He's going away in the lead. He is going to be world champion. Kimi Raikkonen wins the Brazilian Grand Prix. His first victory here, the 15th of his career, and by no doubt the most important. Massa finishes in second place. Alonso is going to come in third, and the dream is over for Lewis Hamilton. Kimi Raikkonen is world champion of 2007 unless Rosberg and Kubica collide on the last lap.
Yes, but because Lewis is a lap behind, he can't complete the last lap. So whatever happens now, he is nailed down in 7th position. They can all run into each other. He will not gain any places.
Absolutely right. Raikkonen wins. Massa second, Alonso third, Rosberg fourth, Kubica fifth, Heidfeld sixth, Hamilton 7th, and Jarno Trulli in 8th place. Well, Raikkonen led the World Championship after the first round in Australia, and he's not led it too much since then, but he's led it when it really mattered. The final round, and he is the World Champion, taking it away from Fernando Alonso, who crosses the line here in a very distant 3rd place. And there's Nico Rosberg, very happy with his afternoon's work.
Let's remember, Raikkonen has won 6 Grand Prix this year. He's not lucked into it or reversed into it. He's had reliability issues. Hamilton's car has been bulletproof by and large, and it seems as if it let him down today.
Well, they call him the Iceman, but there's a bit of a show of emotion going on in that cockpit now. He cannot believe it. He did absolutely everything right. It's been such a strong second half to the season by Kimi Raikkonen. And Lewis Hamilton is going to have to come back here next year and do it all over again.
Okay, it's all over. It's all over. Hamilton 7th. Hamilton 7th. By my calculations, we win the championship by 1 point.
Chris Dyer there, his engineer, confirming what we all think too.
And you have to go back to China 2 weeks ago, don't you? You have to look at that decision by the McLaren team to keep Hamilton out on completely worn-out tyres. They tried to finish the job off there in China. If they'd have just brought him in and put him on a new set of boots, he would have gone away with at least 5 and probably 6 points, and it would have been a very different story here this afternoon. But on such things do World Championships turn, and it's turned completely 360. David Robertson, the manager of Kimi Raikkonen, possibly one of the men who knows him best, is now with Louise Goodman.
David, can you believe what's just happened?
Yeah, that's what's happened.
I mean,
he's become the champion of the world, which he's always wanted. And bless him, he really deserves it. Kept his mouth shut, just done the job, and out popped the championship. So, to me, he's by far the best driver, the coolest kid in the world. And today was a typical example of what he's all about.
When you arrived here this weekend, I mean, there was an outside possibility, but did you really think he could clinch it today?
To be honest, yes, I did. And I felt very positive all weekend, as is Kimi, as he always does with every race he steps into. And that spreads up onto me. And I've got to tell you that a lot of the press around here are more than happy that he's managed to pull this out. Off from what looked like a pretty slim chance, he went and done it. So, fantastic.
I'm sure he'll enjoy the celebrations. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done, Robbo. Actually, let's just have a mind reset. It's been an awful weekend for British sport, but Raikkonen is a worthy world champion. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, definitely. He's been close on 2 occasions, losing out to Michael Schumacher. Of course, when he came to Ferrari this year, he got Schumacher's race engineer, Chris Dyer, the Australian. We've just heard from him. And so he got to work with him, and there we are. He's got his emotions under control, Kimi Raikkonen, but he is the champion of the world. And that's good for Formula One as well. There'll be a handshake there with his teammate Felipe Massa, disappointed not to be able to win his home Grand Prix, but he knows how the cake is cut up. And you'd have to say that Raikkonen thoroughly deserves it. He's been at the forefront. It's good for Formula One that we've got 2 world champions on the grid. the start of next year, Fernando Alonso and Kimi Raikkonen. And, well, Lewis Hamilton's just going to have to come back and do it all again.
Weighing then, they weigh Raikkonen with full kit, hands device around his neck and helmet, so that they can add that to the weight of the car a little bit later on and make sure his car was not underweight. The two very dominant Ferraris, they thoroughly deserve to win this Grand Prix, that's for sure. Absolutely, they were 57 seconds ahead of a slightly dispirited Fernando Alonso, it has to be said. But that is a kind of Michael Schumacher-esque Ferrari domination that we got used to for a few years.
Orgoglioli Ferrari, pride of Ferrari, it says on that big banner as Kimi Raikkonen shakes hands. Everyone was saying he's not Michael Schumacher, he won't relate to the Ferrari team the way that Schumacher did. He certainly plays things very differently. He's very much of a turn up and drive type of guy, but when he does turn up and drive, he certainly gets the results. And after a very difficult start to 2007, where he took his time to get used to the car, and particularly the new Bridgestone tyres, having used Michelin's for many years, it took him a while to get up to speed. But second half of the year, he has been the class of the field. And what a turnaround here in Brazil. There's Lewis Hamilton, a sporting handshake from him to Kimi Raikkonen, conceding the World Championship. That's good to see.
I don't think Hamilton expected to win the championship when he started the season, but he certainly might have done 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Let me ask you about your drive of the day for the final time in 2007.
You're right, Rosberg, Kubica, Heidfeld did a very, very good job, but Raikkonen won the race fair and square. Massa pushed for all he was worth, and Raikkonen had an answer. Fueled longer, jumped him in the pit stops, and actually I'm going to give it to the new world champion, Kimi Raikkonen. Solid performances from Rosberg, Kubica, Heidfeld, no doubt about it. Jarno Trulli, with that curious late stop, took himself out of position as well, but be interesting to see what kind of problems they had with Lewis Hamilton's car that cost him that 40 seconds, because it cost him the World Championship. Forget the mistakes he made in the first lap. It was the slow lap that he did with apparently no gears that cost Hamilton the championship.
Well, Kimi Raikkonen turned 28 on Wednesday, celebrated his birthday over here in Brazil, and what a great present he's given himself. Jean Todt there, the boss of Ferrari, will be absolutely delighted as well, Martin, because he's shown that the team is still great without Michael Schumacher. A lot of people predicted that they would go downhill after Schumacher left, and this is a good response to it.
A lot of talk in the paddock that Jean Todt is now leaving Ferrari, and there's no fact involved in that. It's just a very, very strong rumour that hasn't really been denied. But surprised Michael wasn't here this weekend as a consultant. Thought Michael Schumacher may well have been on the pit wall, but this man clearly shown he didn't need him.
Well, Schumacher was a man who knew it was not over until it's over, until the checkered flag, and Kimi Raikkonen is really his spiritual heir. He pushed hard, he waited to see what everyone else would do, and when Hamilton's race imploded on itself, that gave the opportunity to Kimi Raikkonen to step up and win the Formula One World Championship.
I think they're stunned in many respects, I think, down there. They were so far adrift, weren't they? McLaren had an open goal. Ferrari looked completely out of it with reliability issues, and somehow this man stands on the top step of the podium and wins the World Championship.
It's one of the great turnarounds. Kimi has a little drink before we get underway with the ceremony. Season then for Raikkonen, the most of any driver in this year.